Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna talk about Dendrobium nobile orchids, or actually Dendrobium nobile hybrids that we can find locally in our supermarkets, flower shops, and usually they are pretty affordable as well and available at most regions. It is Dendrobium nobile season here where I am because we are currently in the middle of winter going to spring, so they should be pushing out the beautiful flower spikes. I had a ton of issues with some of my nobiles last year, so I want to update you about how they are doing, how I am looking after them, and it's going to be a general update, but also with some tips about how to look after your Dendrobium nobilis or how I do that. I do have other tutorials that are much more complex and complete than this one. This is going to be an update with some hints. If you want to see some of the other videos, I'll link them down below. They would be better if you are completely a beginner, but taking that out of the way, let's start this video. So here I am with my beautiful white Dendrobium nobile. This is a very common hybrid that we do find in a ton of ways. It used to be very, very strong, resilient, and healthy orchid. It has been suffering maybe from the past 2 years. I think last year when I took it to my cool down space, it suffered a bit with dehydration. That was my fault. What happened is last year, it pushed out many, many cakes. And that is not only a strategic way for these plants to survive, specifically when they are very stressed, but if they're being over-fertilized or if there are other underlying issues, one way for you to actually notice is to check if your Dendrobium is pushing out too many cakes. That was happening with this one. I had to remove some cakes. That's usually if I notice that the plant is only producing cakes and is not pushing out healthy leaves, not pushing out healthy new growths, I would advise you to check the roots. So with this one here specifically, I did pot up some of the cakes, but I did remove some of the older parts of my plant, the ones that were not healthy anymore. I didn't do this time. I didn't want this one to bloom, so I didn't put it inside my bathroom where I keep my plants during winter time without any heating, because I was more worried about the health of this plant than actually about having beautiful white flowers, since it doesn't have enough mature cakes and divisions that I think will be able to put a beautiful flower show. None of the less, one of the cakes just push out some flowers. It happens, and it happens a lot, specifically with this hybrid. Let me know if you experienced that with other hybrids, but this is not the first time that a tiny cake push out flowers with this one specifically. And my living room is not super warm all the time, so these plants are complex hybrids. Sometimes even with a small drop in temperature, they are able to push out spikes and flowers and bloom. So we're gonna see with this one specifically that it does have old canes that are actually dying. How I know that they are dying, they are very wrinkled and they are not being hydrated even when I water these plants, which means that they don't have any roots, and I think it's the end of their life. I do have others that I suspect has some infections, and I have new canes that are actually able to be a bit more healthy or healthier than some of the old divisions. It does have some grazings on the leaves, which worries me a little bit. These plants, they got attacked by spider mite, and now I have an infestation of grapes, so that can be a problem as well. But yeah, I do have two divisions here at the bottom. They are not the most beautiful divisions of all. They are hydrated, they have been watered, and they are doing their jobs. But I do think that the oldest part of this plant will all die very soon, and I will probably lose part of it, but I will still be able to keep the cakes, and hopefully in the future I'll have a healthier plant. With this one, when spring comes, I think I will just unpot everything and repot it again, specifically the cakes. Give this plant a beautiful restart to see if it will develop nicer next year. There are some underlying issues. I need to investigate it further. but I think was due to being a long time in the cool down room without any water, and I think I left too long before I moved my plants and affected almost all of them. So talking about it, let's go to the next one. Ta-da! That's my massive Dendrobium nobile. It's yellow. I think it's yellow canary. I'm not sure. I will place the tags down below. So it is a bit white. The leaves, they have white speckles. That's because my husband was painting the bathroom and a little bit of paint went to these leaves. Not ideal, but it happened and there is nothing that I can do about it. Anyway, it will survive. It will do well. I hoped that this paint could protect my plant from thrips, but I don't think it will happen. Nonetheless, I will keep you updated. I just took it out from my cold bathroom where I still have two dendrobiums hanging there that I have to move them inside as well. Why am I moving them inside now? They have been there for more than a month. I think 2 months at this point. At least 2 months, I guess. I think I moved them there in November. It was pretty cold. This one has many flower spikes all around its new canes and some on the old canes as well, where it had space to bloom. If it had bloomed before, it will not be able to rebloom exactly at the same division of the cane. It needs to have space on the cane between two lines to be able to bloom, like here. I have here where the cane is growing, I have the line, and then I have buds here. Next year, where this line is, I will not have space, so this plant will not be able to bloom the same place. So, as I said, I place it in my cool room. That's basically a bathroom where I keep the heating off and it gets pretty cold. And that's how I manage to bloom my Dendrobium nobile. So this time I noticed that the canes were getting a bit dehydrated, specifically the newer canes. That's the canes that are more active and needs more nutrients and actually are full of flower spikes. When I noticed that they were becoming wrinkled, at least a bit wrinkled, that's when I offered them a bit of water. That was this weekend. So now I decided to bring it inside. Why? Because it has been there for 2 months at this point. So I think it's been there for long enough. Last year, I forgot to bring them inside. I let them there for a long period of time, which I think made some of my plants suffer. And I had a complete video where I tell you what happened to some of my Dendrobium nobile hybrids and it wasn't pretty. I almost lost some of them. So for this reason, I'm being a bit more careful. This one is the healthiest Dendrobium nobile that I have in my collection. It's doing very, very well. And it has some buds that are opening already in one of the canes here. I have some more mature buds, but I do have also a ton of small little things that are sprouting from some of the newer canes. They will bloom later. I want to film it when it's in full glory, so you'll be able to see when they are in full bloom. They are beautiful to look at, specifically when we have something that is healthy, full of mature canes. They are able to put a bloom show. And last year I had a ton of them in bloom, the year before even more, so I hope next year is going to be better than this year, but this one will definitely put a show. So how I intend to look after it now? I've brought it inside. I won't add any more water to it, not now. I need to wait for it to dry again because I don't want to have a case of root rot. It was dry for a long period of time. It's not super warm in here either. So this plant doesn't need as much water as when it gets to spring. That's the most active part. So I just observe my plant, see if it's getting super, super dry, and then I offer it some water, specifically now that push out all of these buds. So I need to be careful. I don't want to lose these buds. I don't want to have bud blasts. I will keep it here in my living room so it has some warmth, has some bright light. It will help my flowers. They will open. They will be beautiful. I will be able to see them. They are going to be sitting near me. And now from this staging, moving on, is just to observe, wait for the flowers to open, to have all of my plants in full bloom. Keep watering it from time to time, maybe not even every week. I need to observe the plant. And when it gets a bit warmer, you will notice that the plant will get a little bit more thirsty because it's the most active period of these plants. So we need to offer it more water, more fertilizer, and it's also a good time to repot. Now is not a good time to repot. Now is only the time to keep looking after this beauty, waiting for these buds to open and enjoy the beautiful flower show. So this is the best looking plants that I have. I will take these out of the way. You're gonna probably see it in the next What's in Bloom, not the one this month, but the one in a month time. Something that I have to tell you about the Dendrobium nobile hybrids is that most of them need you need something to stake them up. Otherwise, they get super heavy because the canes will become very tall, and that the vases, they can lose their balance, so you can break part of your plants, you can lose the buds. For this reason, I super recommend you use some sort of stakes. I have a bamboo stake here. I have some, I don't know how to call it, but some other stakes from orchids and plants that I bought on Amazon. So I use those just to keep my plants stable. It helps a lot and keeps it a little bit tidier as well. Otherwise, it's very unruly and it's not a space saver. We have canes everywhere and it gets very bushy and large, so you need the proper space. And I think the stakes help to save some space as well. Okay, so let's go to the problematic Dendrobium nobilis. I have here my Eucodorama. I reported here with you. It didn't grow much. None of the two that I reported here grew much. Why? Because I reported them in the end of summer, I guess. I think it was already autumn. These plants, they are very sensitive with temperature. So when the temperature drops, it's the less active period of time for these plants. So they will not be growing new canes and new roots. They tend to save energy. For this reason, I recommend you to repot your nobilis when it's starting springtime, because then they will have more time to grow. I didn't do it, so there we have it. We have both of them. So my Eucodorama has 3 growths at this point. They are tiny, but to be honest, when I bought it, it had only 1 tiny growth and it survived. So I'm hopeful. I can see some root tips inside this pot. I watered these weekends. I'm not offering a ton of water because they don't need it. As I said, they are not super active at the moment. On top of that, I sprayed all of them with neem oil. That's what I had available because of spider mite that was attacking my plant and was making the decline in health. Just to let you know, Dendrobiums, they are very sensitive to pests, so we have always to be careful. So the oils did a good job, actually, because I do have a thrips infestation now, and they are not severely affected by thrips, which for me, it's a great sign that something was done proper here. So I didn't have bad results with the oil. I think the mixture was, I think the way that I mix with water was great. It worked for my plants, and I can see that it's protecting them. So it does have some live roots inside the pot. It's not doing as amazing as I would hope it would be doing. So it might be able to push out new growths this summer. That's what I'm hopeful to do. With these ones, it's the same thing that I did with the first orchid. I didn't place it in the cool down space. I kept it here with me because I knew that they wouldn't be able to bloom and I didn't want to stress them. So I kept them here with like some sort of room temperature all the time, because what I want for these plants now is just for them to keep growing. They are not growing a lot because even being inside, even with the heating on, is still cold, or at least the temperature is much lower than when it's summer. So these plants, they can definitely feel it, but they are here, they are hanging there, it's surviving. So I'm hopeful. Last but not least, I have here is my purple Dendrobium. Forgot the name now. Anyway, I will place the tag down below. So these ones, same thing, sprayed with oils. It had a huge infestation of spider mite. It had lost most of its canes, so I just removed the cakes, brought them here. They are sitting here inside with room temperature as well. There is no way that I would be able to bloom these plants. I don't want them to bloom now. They will be able to bloom in the future if I am able to save them. So I have 2 cakes left. Again, they could be much healthier than what they are now. Here, I can see a ton of roots. So there are many live roots. Imagine that now that it's winter, the temperature is not super warm. So I have less evaporation. The water is taking long to evaporate. Also, the metabolism of my plants is a little bit slower than usual. If I have a case of root rot here, I would lose the only roots that these cakes have at the moment, and they are able to keep them alive. And they are not super active, pushing out more and more roots, more and more growth. With that, I conclude my update, and this was a special update because I want to walk you through my Dendrobium nobile hybrids, how they are doing. Now that's their season, how I'm looking after them, and they are all alive. I've never lost one of them because they are very, very resilient plants. The only reason why I don't have more is because space that I have, they can become super big creatures and they need their space and they need bright light when they are active, super bright space as well, where I place my cattleyas, my oncidiums. For this reason, I didn't buy others. In the future, I will definitely get one or another. I am thinking about increasing my collection of dendrobiums. I don't have many. That's some plans for the future. But for now, that was everything. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, leave a comment down below. Let me know which type of orchids you have in your home and if you have beautiful Dendrobium nobilis that are blooming right now. I would love to hear you. And without further ado, I will finish this video, and the next one is going to be about beautiful flowers that I have in bloom at the moment. I can't wait to talk to you on Thursday, and I hope I see you soon. Bye-bye.